Okay, let's just jump right in today because we're unpacking a story that completely redefines what it means to heal. We're going to follow the emotional journey of a 12-year-old boy named Owen and an unbelievably ancient, broken dragon named Vaughn. It's this deeply moving narrative about the heavy weight of history, the power of community, and honestly, the profound world-altering impact of what I like to call stubborn compassion. Okay, let's dive into this. Picture this. Owen is out cutting firewood when this sudden, dark green mountain storm rolls in. As he's rushing back to his village, he hears something coming from a familiar, forbidden cave. And it wasn't thunder. It was a sound like something heavy trying to breathe through stone. Right? Owen recognizes the sound of a hurt animal, but this is bigger, much, much bigger. And despite his sheer terror, he decides he literally has to look inside. So he goes into this dry, strangely warm air, and he discovers the source. It's Vaughn, an ancient dragon whose scales are the color of old iron, this dark gray spotted with black. He's got a massive broken wing folded at a completely wrong angle, and he carries these deep, devastating wounds all along his shoulders. And you guys, these wounds have been unattended for so long, they've literally become part of his massive shape over the centuries. He is just lying there in the dark, waiting for the end.
Now, what's absolutely fascinating here is the direct clash of mindsets happening in this cave. On one side, we have Vaughn's weary, ancient resignation. He tells Owen plainly, "I am dying." And he delivers it like a fact of the weather, just something you don't argue with, you just wait it out. But on the other side, we have Owen. He represents this youthful, incredibly stubborn refusal to just let death happen. Owen admits his hands are literally shaking with terror, but he tells this massive dragon, "I just can't leave while you're like this."
8. That's the number of months Vaughn had been lying completely alone in this dark cave. He retreated to this mountain 2 seasons before the first snow. And the thing is, he wasn't actively trying to speed up his death, he was simply waiting for it. The body of an ancient dragon holds on way, way longer after the spirit gives up, and Vaughn's reason for living had vanished a long time ago. He deliberately wanted to die in quiet isolation, without a single witness. Well, Owen refuses to let him be a silent tragedy. He starts this quiet progression of healing through small, daily acts of stubborn empathy. And we're not talking about magic here, it's just practical, everyday care. Step 1, he brings a wider clay jar, just because the dragon's jaw is way too massive for a standard water jug. Step 2, he tracks down this dark green-black root, crushing it into a paste to soothe Vaughn's ancient wounds. And step 3, he asks to visit in the evenings instead of the mornings, so Vaughn can safely step outside the cave for walks in the dark, without the rest of the village seeing him. These seemingly minor, tiny steps slowly but surely pull Vaughn away from the edge. To really understand Vaughn's resignation, we have to look at the immense, incredibly lonely history he carries. Over 400 years ago, he was roaming the old territories, seeing the sky filled with other dragons. But the truly devastating marker is 190 years ago. That is when the very last of his kind died, and he watched it happen. Actually, let me put that into perspective. Vaughn has been utterly, entirely alone for nearly 2 centuries. The tragic death of his species is this unimaginable burden he carries, and it's exactly why he finally retreated to the cave 8 months ago to just give up. Of course, a 12-year-old boy secretly visiting a giant dragon doesn't stay a secret forever, right? The village starts whispering, and Owen's father, Gareth, follows him up the mountain path. This leads to an incredibly tense moment. Gareth steps into the dark cave. I mean, just imagine the sheer raw human bravery it takes for a father to face an ancient, towering terror in the pitch black. He looks at this massive creature and says, "If you hurt my son, I will find a way to make you regret it." And Vaughn's reaction? It's just brilliant. He doesn't roar, he doesn't lash out at all, he just stares at Gareth. And with this profound, really surprising respect, he replies, "That is the most human thing anyone has said to me in 400 years." This interaction right here is a massive turning point. It sparks a deeper mutual understanding, proving to Gareth that this creature isn't some mindless monster, but an ancient being fully capable of reason and respect. All right, moving into section 2, the standoff. The village makes a stand. 19.
This number is absolutely crucial. Word reaches outside the valley, and a man named Barrick arrives with 6 experienced, heavily armed hunters. They've brought wagons, they've brought bone saws, and they are fully intent on brutally harvesting this weakened creature for profit. But they do not get a clear path. By midnight, 19 brave villagers have climbed the mountain in the dark to block these armed hunters. We're talking Owen, his father Gareth, the village elder Aldrich, a grieving mother named Petra, and even some older kids. They're not an army. They literally only have 2 old swords between the whole lot of them, but they stand shoulder to shoulder on that narrow mountain path. And there's Owen, standing at the very front of this line, facing down these hardened, armed hunters. He delivers this unyielding truth. You came here to kill something because it is too weak to stop you. We are not going to let that happen. It is a breathtaking moment. A community that has historically been terrified of dragons actively chooses collective empathy and protection over their own fear. They're putting their own lives on the line for a creature that hasn't harmed them.
And you know what? The standoff actually succeeds. Barrick looks at the silent, unified courage of these villagers. He's a calculating guy, and suddenly, the math has changed. Slaughtering 19 innocent villagers just to harvest a dying animal? That's not what he signed up for. The villagers' unified front fundamentally shifts the dynamic here, forcing these experienced hunters to pack up their saws and walk away down the mountain.
Later that evening, under the open sky, Vaughn finally speaks to Owen about his past. He unburdens 400 years of deep, dark regret. He doesn't make excuses either. He confesses to burning his settlement centuries ago that was poisoning water. He talks about the brutal, bloody things he did fighting alongside human armies. He even admits to breaking a sacred covenant. He essentially just empties this massive box of trauma he's carried for centuries, fully expecting this dark history to finally push Owen away.
So, the crucial point here is Owen's response. Owen sits with his back against the cave wall, listens to the absolute worst parts of this creature's life, and doesn't flinch. Instead, he looks at him and says, "I am asking what you are now, today, this version of you." He flatly refuses to judge Vaughn by his centuries of regret. Instead, he anchors the dragon entirely to his present choice to heal, the version of Vaughn who asks for blackroot paste and steps out into the evening air. And this profound acceptance, it actually makes the ancient dragon laugh, this real deep rumbling laugh of pure relief.
Which brings us to our final act, Section 3, the Ground Covenant, passing the old fire.
The next morning, Vaughn is waiting outside in the full light, and he's healed. He's enormous, majestic, literally making the mountain behind him look small. He tells Owen he wants to perform something that hasn't been seen in 300 years, the Ground Covenant. This is a profound mystical act. It's an ancient, irreversible bond. Because Owen and the village protected him, Vaughn chooses to pass a piece of his old fire directly into Owen's bloodline. What this means is that no matter where Owen goes, if he is ever deeply threatened, Vaughn will instantly sense it across any distance. Now, when we say fire, we're not talking about the burning, destructive kind. This old fire is slow, gold, and warm. It's an enduring, really patient light. Vaughn breathes out, and this steady, ancient warmth transfers directly into Owen, settling permanently into the palm of the boy's hand. It's this quiet, enduring mark of protection and incredible gratitude. With his strength fully returned, Vaughn prepares to fly north to the old territories, and we get this incredibly emotionally weighty final exchange between the two of them. Owen asks, "Will you come back?" And Vaughn replies, "Yes." Not quickly, not gently, as a fact, but yes. With that promise cemented, Vaughn finally spreads his wings. The morning light shines right through the old healed tears in those wings, making them look like this golden map of his survival, and he takes to the sky. As we wrap up this explainer today, I want to leave you all with a lingering question. What old fire or legacy of empathy are you passing down in your own life? Think about it. Owen didn't have magic, he didn't have weapons, he literally just had a wider clay jar,
some crushed roots, and a stubborn refusal to let someone suffer alone. That stubborn compassion healed a 400-year-old broken spirit, it united a whole village, and it forged an internal bond. It's an incredible reminder of the lasting power of choosing empathy. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep learning.